Good morning. Welcome to FYI, Treaty Finance. Amanzo Walton Desir, Sharon. Welcome.
Good morning. Good
Morning,
morning and
guys. Good
welcome.
morning. Let
Welcome.
us know you're hearing us loud and clear wherever you're joining us from this morning. Beatrice Selby is already here and Candy Naleen in the jig. Good to have you folks here. Ladies.
How you doing, guys? I'm tired as hell.
We are a little tired.
Long night at Parliament.
We were in those Parliament streets
Long night.
Very, very
until
long.
early this morning.
Yep.
But we there.
Good job, ladies. Good job in the snake pit yesterday.
It was a snake pit
Good job out
indeed.
there. Good job
It
out
was
there.
pace and power.
Yeah. But we're happy that you folks are here with us. We're happy that you guys are here. Couldn't ask a better audience this morning. You know, you guys make the programs special, and you know we're recovering. You guys are recovering from a long day yesterday. And some of us are going to have a longer time to recover than others based on the suspension from National Assembly. So there's that. And then I heard that even though you went to PC, your maths still thing, maybe because of your shot. Your maths still thing up. Your maths still thing.
I tell these legal people, stay.
Listen to me. I put out an APB for Mr. Lee immediately.
Yeah.
So Mr. Lee, if you're watching the comment by you today, Chief, because
but you know,
clearly.
we don't know all there is to know. So one day somebody might figure, you know, this guy, you know, this guy was ahead of your time, you know.
Ahead of my time. But you know, I ain't good. You know what I was like I said to the speaker last evening. I'm in good company. Because Irfan, remember he told the people in Region 3 that 5 times 5 is 20.
Okay.
Right. So, and he's president. So, you know.
You are hope. Mansa has hope to go to the top of the class. How are you folks out there doing? Please let us know if you hear our audio loud and clear. We don't want any impediment to that.
You know, with the maths, I saw this morning, none other than Sister Ryan Singh actually put in a slight at the maths. But I was wondering, I know because Sis met sugar at $50 a pound, right? If there's $400.
Does the math that matter?
You know, Sis, you're different. You know?
I hope you really when they subtract it from the sugar. When they subtract it, you hope you match good then. That looks sooner rather than later. Look sooner. Guys, let us know if you're hearing us clearly. Do that.
I think Dharamlal in his whole quest, Dildo Dharamlal in his whole quest to start a takeaway from the force of the presentation.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Took out that, but then he forgot that his president did the same thing. So I had to remind him, you know, he ceased and desisted immediately.
You forget the president. That's it. You forget. Last time, forget Irfan. They look other places. They forget Irfan.
Yeah.
They look other places.
We don't blame them though. It was quite hilarious yesterday. I had a good laugh.
You said, yeah, with your things besides your bats. Besides the bats.
My son saying, Mommy,
You're representing Mommy as the man's PC, your kids went to bishops and so on.
They're very good at maths. My son was up when I came home. He said,
you waking up?
He said, Mommy,
No.
You know you're in the maths.
Well, that's it.
It was quite hilarious. Quite hilarious. But you know, but I wanted to be the other point. No, but the other point is, and this is on the serious side though, because you know we gotta stop laugh at some point in time. That if that is what you took away from the presentation, then you were the problem.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. Like, you know, I was so appalled yesterday to see how, and Jerry, you were there, how Sonia Parag was treating the cost of living as a non-issue. Very dismissive, you know. Zulfikar was doing the same thing. So it was alarming to see that, wow, like these people really don't get it. They really don't get it.
I have other issues with Sonia Parag and her. And I encourage persons, you know, yesterday morning when we were on, we encourage persons to join the actual, join the feed because Parliament has a live feed. I know it was on your page yesterday at some point in time too. Because I want him to witness what the PPP ministers actually bring to the Parliament as a debate. And there we had, you know, Sonia Parag got up as the subject minister when it comes to the public service and stood up and spoke utter trash.
Yeah.
Right? She
Yeah.
had absolutely
Yeah.
no sequence in her argument. She
Yeah.
wasn't saying anything. It's like she didn't come to speak.
Mhm.
And at the very end of it, it was even worse because at the end of it, the subject minister, because that's the minister, gets the opportunity to close the argument. At the end of it, she couldn't even do that. Ashley Singh had to jump in and utter some words because she doesn't know what to say.
Right.
So that alone speaks
Right.
It
volumes
makes
as
you
to
wonder.
where we
It
are.
makes you wonder what they're busy doing. Makes you wonder exactly what they're busy doing.
Mhm.
I see the trolls are here. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Pull up
Oh,
a cup
they're
of something.
here.
I know you're gonna be here for a little while. Pull up a cup of something.
Was it Lachmi? She's here.
I'm seeing quite a few of them. I'm seeing quite a few of them. Welcome.
Somebody
No.
talk like
Welcome,
me. She can't be
welcome.
missing out today.
Yeah, at all. Welcome to each and every one of you. You know, that's how we like it when you guys shop. You don't disappoint at all. They don't disappoint at all. You know, we have a portion of Amanda's presentation. Yes, just in case you guys miss it, we're still chopping up Driti's own folks. There's a couple we here.
Yeah, Doretta really, really.
Yeah, all of our MPs
Like
represented.
put them, to the
Right.
place. Nima's presentation.
Yeah.
Nima really, I think, brought home, the reality of what people are facing.
What strikes me is that in politics, politicians invariably say something profound and you capture it. You could go through the whole reel of stuff from the government. You wouldn't find anything useful. You could say, well,
or profound.
Right? And it's not what you think about it. Put it out there and see what the public, see how much likes it get, how much shares it get, because it resonates with people.
Yeah.
It resonates with people. Don't take our word for it. Go through all of the hours of presentation from the government and see if you could find something and say, this here,
Right. Instead, what you
make
find
my
is
spine
like
tingle.
I said, and I had to do away with sort of what I came prepared to say, because when you saw the just the apathy and the uncaringness,
and for our students who will be watching us, and folks, we invite you to share the live this morning and smash that emoji. But you all know how we do things. Make the shares look good. Pick up the pace with the emoji, smash that emoji button. For us, we want others to get valid, credible information. And for the students who are watching, I had an experience once where I went to a debate with a whole, 5 pages. But when you feel that room, sometimes you need to say,
I know that debate.
You move away from the
you
script.
would have been crushed.
You move away from the script.
and
you move away from the script and you do what you gotta do.
And this is, I think, and on a serious note now as well, again, putting the levity aside, like this is why I think maybe we are how we are as a nation, because we really do have urgent issues facing us.
Yeah.
And instead of focusing on what is germane and what is important, we veer to a misspeaking of an MP. And it really does require us to sort of level up and mature as a people.
That's a real tragedy.
Right.
And folks, and this is what really Amanzu was among the other MPs, like Richard and so on, were telling the folks yesterday. We got serious things to discuss, but y'all didn't come prepared for that. Here's part of Amanzu's presentation, just for you guys.
We ought to bend our heads in shame, and we ought to pack up our briefcases, and we ought to go home, because we are not taking care of the needs of the people of Guyana. We are not taking care of it, and it is our failing, and we have to address it. Right now, there is a mother that is not sure what her children will have for dinner. But you know what? We are going to stand in this house and we are going to debate, and at 4 o'clock we will take a tea break. At 4 o'clock we are going to take a tea break. And the people of Guyana are not sure that they are going to be having dinner. The public servants are not sure that they have transportation to get to work tomorrow. How dare you come into this house to try to politic and play with the lives of people? Yes, all of you should walk out. You should walk out because you should be deeply ashamed of yourself. You should be deeply ashamed of yourself.
Yeah. The MPs weren't playing yesterday, and I want to ask Amanda about that. And I want to go to the other piece right away, and maybe you can pull it together for us. What were you thinking in those moments? Is because, as you said, you went off script there. Here's another portion.
And to listen to the manner in which the speakers on the other side make a mockery of cost of living, as if it does not concern the life of every Guyanese. We ought to hang our heads in shame in this National Assembly. In shame. We just sat at a meal where we had all kind of curry, duck, and whatever. And right now, there are Guyanese that can't feed their families, and you dare to come here to be talking about who did what and who did what when, instead of getting down to the business of the people of Guyana, the way they expect us to do. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves. And Zulfi comes, the honorable member, with some cute thing about repentance. It would be cute if our people were not starving. You come here as the Minister of Agriculture, and you cannot tell me where I could find a prong of brown sugar to buy. You speak to everything else except your portfolio responsibility, and you think it is cute when our people are suffering. When our people are suffering. We have got to be serious in this house.
Yeah. Cute Zulfi. Cute Zulfi. Sugar down.
Sugar down. He clearly went sugar down.
Sugar down.
No, but it's just very, very serious. And like I said, I didn't intend to speak to any of that per se yesterday because there was a motion in place. The other thing that struck me as odd was that the speaker, when I stood up earlier in the proceedings to ask a clarification, asked the technical staff to mute my microphone. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was so symbolic.
Yeah, and they often do that. They might even do it in your presence, because it seems to me, it has occurred to me that during the presentation of the parliamentary opposition, a lot of the mics don't work.
Yes, and the feeds get cut. But to hear the speaker,
also that the mics from opposition presentation be torn down.
Yeah, so it's naturally it's so petty how they behave in the National Assembly. And to hear the speaker order the technical staff to mute a member of Parliament's microphone.
Yeah. That's why he's there.
Because I was seeking a clarification as to which standing order this motion was disallowed under, because he didn't say. Mm-hmm. I find that to be reprehensible. And I think this is why the PPP is using the miscalculation part as a distraction, because they wanna take away from the gravity of what that represents.
And that is what we're going to be talking about for the main issue, to give you guys an idea for the big issue this morning, is the PPP deflecting from their dismal performance, whether in the wider economy or in Parliament. All you have is deflection from a very, very poor showing. But let's start the morning as we usually do, talking about perhaps what's in the morning papers, or we could put perhaps, as I would suggest, head straight to some of what is happening internationally, then regionally, then we're coming home. Good to have each and every one of you here, Carol. For I see the trolls out in full numbers this morning, Amanda.
But that's my job.
Full force this morning. We're so happy you guys are here. You see, this is our role, to bring the information to the people, to set the agenda, and your role is to, of course, be a troll. But we're creating jobs. Even in the opposition.
Yes, of course, because of course,
jobs.
The trolls are usually paid out of Freedom House to sit in the morning and to distract us. But
very much so.
We're not going to be distracted.
Yeah, we can go straight past the morning paper, because the morning paper actually speaks to everything that we want to deal with in the biggest issue of the day, with all the money that the finance minister is coming up. Mr. Norton's motion, for that for a request to debate the corruption of the alleged corruption against Vice President, second Vice President Barja.
It is not urgent.
It's not urgent.
Wow. We can talk about that a little bit, but this is some of what is happening internationally, folks. If you guys have been following what has been happening at the January 6th Capitol riot hearings, again, all of the blame is being laid squarely at President Trump's feet. And you know what I love about all of this that is happening there? One, what transpired on January 6th day with the storming of Capitol Hill is very, very similar to what happened with the G-Com Hatfield Street location during our protracted electoral process.
Right.
Because a lot of people stormed that place. There's video evidence out there of people going through materials for GCOM, opening drawers and removing flash drives and a whole host of things. That in itself needs a COI, and this is very, very close to what transpired there. And number two, even though you have these hearings happening, the Republicans and Democrats still got a country to move forward.
Yes.
And so they may disagree on what transpired on January 6th and who is to blame and all that, but they're still building their country together. And that is very, very striking to me.
It is. And Suriname, for example, is another good example of people not being distracted by other events, but being able to compartmentalize issues. As the old people used to say, go walk and chew gum.
Correct.
And
correct.
so we have to be able to deal with issues as we build. But it seems as though we're stuck in a rut and we keep turning our wheels, and we really as a nation have to find a way to get out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's a tragedy. Now I hear Mr. Biden talk a lot, right? I don't hear him mentioning January 6th, January 6th, January 6th. In front every other sentence. Oh, these.
Where were you?
Where were you during that period?
Yes.
You know, where were you?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That is true. And as we talk about that, how the Democrats and Republicans can work together in spite of their differences on a lot of issues, but they know they gotta build America. They know they gotta keep America first as a superpower. And so they can willingly set aside these issues and look to other issues. Look what's happening, folks. Look what's happening in the Ukraine, for instance. This might strike you as strange. The Ukraine and Russia today will sign a deal to reopen the grain export ports. They're at war, you know. Two countries at war, but they can find common things to work on. Because they know if they don't do some common things, the cost of living in their country, both of them might get thrown. Because grain is very important as an export for both countries, right? And that is part of why we see some of the challenges we have cost-wise right now. So the Ukraine and Russia at war.
But isn't that so striking? That is such an excellent example of working together and compartmentalizing issues.
Yeah. We can disagree on
the border and so on, we can fight and so on. But when it comes to the preservation of the life of our people in terms of hunger, in terms of its impact, we can agree.
Yeah.
And if they can do it, and they're fighting and killing Mati, as we say in the country, but we have a speaker that will say to us that we cannot sit down in parliament as a government and an opposition and hammer out a package that will bring relief to the people of Guyana.
Yeah. The shame, Amanza.
I know.
The shame.
We know.
Shame.
We know.
Their problem as an administration is that they are made to depend only on Jack Dio. And if he can come up with a relief package, none will. They can't independently or together, come in there and hammer out. That is the tragedy.
And then they're dealing a lot of obfuscation because Joratu was bringing to them some of the facts yesterday. And I'm so anxious that we get to her speech and cut it up because it really debunked a lot of the foolishness that they were saying. They may clung around, and this is all seriousness. The Minister of Responsibility for Finance brought VAT relief papers to the House yesterday for cement board and cement. We couldn't sit down and say we'll do something with the tax threshold. We will exempt these 45 food items from VAT and have the private sector follow through with the, so we really are in a bad shape here in this country. Really are in a bad shape.
There's that. And folks, as we come closer to home, this was happening in Rio de Janeiro. At least 18 killed overnight. We've been following this police raids in the capital, and they're trying to clamp down on crime and all of that. So we got some problems on all our borders. Brazil got problems. Suriname, as you rightly said, got some problems. Well, Venezuela, you all know the story firsthand. And we are here with our own basket of issues, right? But we're following what's happening over there, and all the folks who join us from from on that side, our thoughts with you guys this evening. 18 killed, 18. We got to watch that. And, maybe if Lula comes back, we can have some peace on that
that's
side
so
there.
interesting that, that once
Leadership matters.
again, he is now the presidential candidate. He was the
leadership matters.
president.
Yeah.
He was thrown in jail, etc.
Yeah.
But now he has been able to come back.
Yeah.
And he's now the presidential candidate. And
Yeah.
based on what the projections are, more than likely to win.
Yeah.
The elections.
Like you guys, folks here got some fortitude. Some people only hear rumors of jail and they're running, they're running out of politics. They want to say this, they want to come forward. We often say here, we have our role to play. But what are you going to do? You got to demand more. You got to be boots on the ground when there's need for that. Some people only hear about victimization. They want to get involved. They want to do this. People call me on the phone, delete my number when you finish, People forward me all kinds of app. I want to talk to you. What's up? Here, them boys got this thing about this, that. All right, but Lula is out there making the arguments, as Kemraj say, tossed in jail, and here he was given a long sentence, fought through all of that, fighting forward all the time.
Look at Nelson Mandela, whose day we celebrated recently.
27 years.
And so
in jail.
we have to be determined that at some point we are going to step up.
Correct.
And you got to come to
Hold tenaciously to your political faith. This is what I said in the podcast yesterday, Twitter. I'm always very heartened to know that Chetty Jagan, our very own, 28 years in opposition. And he said, well, I'm going for hammer out a deal privately acquired. I see some people on some PPP leaning platforms, and I look at them with when something really, if you spit like you can't take it. I see some of them, you can't manage 28 days in opposition. They're trying to sell out the birthright, Sell out the birthright. I can imagine now with hard times, you can't find you give them by say, I got tobacco sugar, pledge allegiance. They're gone,
It's entirely possible.
They're gone.
Entirely possible.
For tobacco sugar, they would sell you, sell me, sell Jerry, just sell this whole operation.
Did you see the line for sugar?
Yes.
You understand?
Yes. It's so, and I sat there.
It's literally what
we are handing out
sugar.
Sugar.
It's literal.
And all of this is to be distracting from the real issue. And that is that they are failing. That is that they are not able to govern and manage
lining up for sugar.
Properly.
Wow, who thought we'd be here? We knew they would have failed, but it was such spectacular fashion, such spectacular. You gotta line up for sugar. I was telling John last evening, Judas John, I said, don't worry, wedding ring and son, you bring 2 bags of sugar. Will you? That's all, Will you? That's it. She tell you with us. John, you gotta go out the box. You want to go big? This is it. Sugar.
I bet he had 100 bags of
You
it again.
We didn't know you had to line up 10 hours. That thing becomes more significant.
It's all about context.
You got to bring up the sugar.
It's all about context.
Yeah. Look at where we are. But those are some of the things we're following. Other issues we're following in the region is like this: Trinidad reporting high incidence of COVID, but we stop reporting now. I was very taken aback looking at, for instance, the National Assembly yesterday. They've taken away the boat you used to have to go through. Like we think COVID finished.
Yeah.
They've removed the sanitization mechanism and all of that there. They think COVID finished.
But the numbers are up.
The numbers are 80 cases just yesterday.
The numbers are up.
Right? But Trinidad is making joke, and their chief medical officer was out yesterday talking about that. And the fact that Chief Medical Officer Dr. Rohan Parsram, right, said they're watching it, they're monitoring. We don't talk about COVID anymore. We don't even talk about monkeypox. We ain't talking about nothing. They want to talk about sugar. They want to talk about Jack Deere. What do they want to talk about?
No, they
come to the National Assembly for money. That's the only thing they come for. That's what they want to talk about.
Jay, didn't they ask for supplemental?
They tabled the supplementary. They are asking for 44.7.
We commented that. And the just took the same amount from the Natural Resource Fund, right? But as I say, horse gotta live. So moving on, folks. We're following a lot of stuff. That's Trinidad. This is what is happening also, this is out of the Bahamas. The or it's Jamaica. I think it's Jamaica. I beg your pardon. Is it Jamaica? Jamaica, help me. You faster with these issues. Jamaica, you see that?
Minister of Tourism.
Yes, he feels that this can help tourism a lot if you have visas to come into the region. You know, it can help tourism, bringing some extra funds and so on. Our countries can benefit in a meaningful way with this. So we're following this out of Jamaica. It seems appealing, but we gotta drill down some more. Right? Again, suggesting that,
we'll follow it because there are pros and there are cons, but let's see where it goes.
Following the arguments, folks. Following the arguments and some other stuff we are following in the region, like this, for instance. This is out of the Bahamas, calling for more social inclusion, especially where the digital divide is at concerning the Caribbean region. Needing to make strides. And this is something that we often take for granted. The digital divide in the Caribbean region. And I'll give you just an instance. When you go to the US with your phone, your cell phone, it works differently.
Of course.
Than it works here. You see, when you throw on the 5G, it's like your phone transform. You're seeing things your phone doing, you don't know.
Same phone.
Your phone is smart, you are done phone. You step off the plane at GFK, the simple mango pelter.
Yeah.
You will see transform.
Yeah.
Your phone is done. It's a done stock phone you got right now. Right?
Yeah.
But that's only part of it. Lots of the apps that can make your life.
Sell money for these phones.
It's
true.
That's the economics of it.
That's the economics of it.
It's been sold. If you were to do the conversion, the price has been sold for the US, where it's doing more is less than you have to pay for it here.
Yeah, absolutely right.
That is the challenge. That is the challenge. We can get what we pay for.
It's definitely an issue that we have to look at. Certain apps are still not available here. Certain websites you can't
on
access.
Netflix, you can't look at certain movies.
You can look at certain movies in this territory. It really is, and this really does again. And we say it every morning. And one of the things that I'm quite happy about us with is that history will not record us as not highlighting this and not staying silent.
There's a digital divide. The way you can transfer money, for instance, in the US, simply, you try to transfer some money here, go down to one of those places I want to call names that transfers money. It's only left for the ask for blood sample and a stool sample. You understand me? Everything they want. They want where's your heartbeat, where's your pressure, where's your cholesterol level. And just you own money, you own money. And in Cash App, very easily, you can do this. I mean, we have to change this. Look, I'll give you just some quick examples. To sign up for our digital money transfer or digital money transfer mechanism, I won't call it the laundry list of things to do.
Yeah.
To
submit and so on. And to sign up for Cash App, Zelle and so on. It's like
instantaneously. It's
you have to upload this, scan that locally.
Really thumbprint.
No, but the issue is
stool, for example.
the issue is this is where I have the issue, right? The issue is that you are required to do all of that if you have any transactions, and let me tell you something, as members of parliament, the list just multiplies if you have to do any transaction via those money transfer platforms, right? But the issue is that when they are honing through those avenues, as evident as shown in the Vice media reporting, the money laundering isn't done there.
How much you said they move it? How much US they move
it? The Chinese man said between $500,000, between 400,000 to $500,000 US every day. They launder.
But if I want to receive 50 US here, I gotta follow up a form, send to headquarters for approval, come back, go wrong, come around, and the 500,000,000 escaping their glands. I remember some bank institutions. In this country, based on how you look and so on, the ringers they put you through. One man wrote a check for 500 something million, went to one bank, clear. By the time they figure out the check was forged, it was more than 500 million, it was close to $900 million. By the time they figure out the check was forged, money done withdrawn, whatever happened to that is.
Yeah, but
big business one.
You see,
But
again,
you little 25,000 check. Not going to the ring, you know. Sign in the back key.
Yeah.
and then the government determines
Phone number, address.
that you're on a list. You may be blocked from receiving. We really are in a quandary here. We're in a real quandary.
If you receive, it's crazy, but some of the platforms, this is something that needs to be highlighted at a different level, because there must be something affixed to it that says that you look at a certain amount, and stop harassing people for $10,000-$20,000.
Something is wrong.
Transactions.
A lot of things wrong.
There's
no
amount.
That is, you know.
Yeah.
You must have some
Like
kind
limits,
of
tiers
as to the system. It's ridiculous the way in which it is. I have no apologies for what I'm saying. It has to be. You got to go back to the drawing board. You have to see that, hey, we're not looking in the right direction. Where the money's actually being laundered. Then it's not through these platforms, and you need to actually put methods and policies in place to go after where it's actually being laundered.
Yeah, but you see, that will not happen because when you have a government, as the Vice expose shows, that is complicit in the activities that we're talking about, you will find that there'll be some sloth to put in place the proper measures. This is why we were for years on the anti-money laundering blacklist.
Correct.
Because they did not want to put in place the institutional arrangement.
There are in this country right now, let me tell you, in this country right now, persons find mechanisms around the popular platforms and MoneyGram and Western Union and so forth. And they go to business places, establishments set up by business people that are not even Guyanese, that have these set up exactly like that what the Chinese were described. Right here, legitimate businesses. And you go and you drop the money here and they pick it up at wherever they have a sub-office in the country. But that's not what they're set up for. They're set up particularly to make sure that the money is transferred without leaving through the platforms that it should leave through. They are there and they make sure that their head offices in the country that they originate are getting, and it's not just the Chinese, it is a huge
but there's a
issue.
digital divide, and that's what we're talking about. One of those money transfer places right here, I have noticed that they have a facility, perhaps it operates internationally, definitely don't operate here. You would have that money transferred directly into their bank account and not going to have to stand up in a line, right? Why is it that in another country, that same entity allows me on my smartphone, on their app, to send money, right? But I got to go and stand up in a line here, right? It's simple things like that could make our lives better. We got to work on that.
One of the examples that we have with several of the African states is that they were so far behind, and this is where opposition offers an opportunity. I can't remember the African country. They were so far behind that they were able to skip the whole landline infrastructure, and they were able to go straight to the digital platform. So they don't have telephone poles and so on like we have in our country, because they were coming from behind, and so they were able to skip all of these incremental steps and get straight into the digital age. The fact of the matter is that if we have leadership that is serious about this country and moving it forward, we can come up with very innovative strategies to be able to address these issues and catapult the people of Guyana into the prime of the digital age. We are still so far behind.
Could we skip Irfan? Could we skip Joe Hamilton? Sonia Parag, based on her presentation, could we leapfrog over them?
Joe Hamilton stood up in the National Assembly yesterday, and he said everything that I expected him to say, which is utter nonsense.
And nothing.
He said he stood up as the Minister of Labor in this country and was supposed to be speaking to a motion that is asking that public servants are paid after their first month of work, as opposed to having them wait 3 months, right? The representatives of the PPP, and I made this point yesterday, the representatives of the PPP, particularly in his presentation, spoke about how inflation rate is going up throughout the world, how cost of living is going up throughout the world. He agreed, basically, that it is bad in our country. Inflation is high, cost of living is high. He agreed. He sought to give excuses as to why, but the principle is he agreed. And he stood up and he did not see the need for persons not to have to wait 3 months to get their first salary. Hamilton, as the Minister of Labor, followed through. And he said basically the same thing, But, in the presentation, as Hamilton was speaking, I was receiving the messages coming through. One particular message, and I read it in my presentation.
Yeah.
And the young man said, Joe talking about BIT training, but he ain't telling the house how many months now since the participants finished training. They never received the $40,000 each that he promised there in Region 1 Morocco.
Yeah, wow. It makes you
and I read it there, and he hung his head in shame.
It makes you wonder, what are they doing with the money? What are they doing with the money?
You see, there is something afoot. There is something amiss. The government is inept. They are completely inept. And what they're not prepared for this digital age that we are in, because they lie and they don't understand that you can go back and you can find it very, very easily. Last night in the National Assembly, Minister Indar stood up and said that they never promised this nation that they would renegotiate any oil contracts.
Wow.
And David Indar said it. We never said that we're going to have the clip.
But Sonia said they never said they're going to give public service 50% increase.
Wow.
So David,
the nation, the people here know you have to lie to the point that you lie to yourself for you to go.
David Patterson pulled up their manifesto, pulled up the page and the number of the page and the paragraph and read it into the National Assembly's record. And in that, we never said, we are on the precipice of disaster, and it looks like we're going to take a plunge forward because for you to, that was the cornerstone of Jack Deo's campaign, that we could get a better deal.
Correct.
We could get a better deal. The other fellow, what's his name? He's always smiling. No, his face appears to be always smiling. Vikram. Even if Vikram thinks he can't tell because his face is always smiling.
So facetious.
He said that the reason is that they know that these companies don't like uncertainty, so that you can't renegotiate contracts. Which said that they knew going into the elections that they will not, and they had no intention of renegotiating.
Just like how they knew and had no intentions of opening any sugar estates. Just the same way, but some things we're following locally, folks. Y'all boy, and we want to say congrats to all of the GDF officers who are newly commissioned. Congrats to them. Well deserved. When you work hard, there should be accomplishment, and you get the benefit of that, which I don't know where that puts earfund. But he was there yesterday, and the guys told us he turned up an hour late. They were standing in the sun waiting on him all this time. Turned up an hour late. I mean, I can understand soldiers supposed to be hardcore, but you got to show respect too, as if you want to be this commander-in-chief, installed, but nonetheless, out of necessity, right? It's quite tragic what's happening in every sector. There's such disrespect. I heard speaker after speaker yesterday from the parliamentary opposition talking about public servants and how public servants have been disrespected. If you don't even respect the soldiers to be on time, you won't respect the public servants in this country. But again, congrats to all of the folks who would have been promoted there. And who else want to say congrats to? The businessman who's opening up the new portion of the Ghana Pegasus. Business is always good. Employment opportunities are going to open up. And it's good to see the skyscape, shifting a little bit towards that end. And Mr. Vidal has been one of those really hardworking businessmen. He has his own politics, had his own party too, if I remember clearly.
Yes, at one point.
Right, but as a businessman, I want to say kudos for doing what you're doing there. You work hard, and again, you get the result of that. The Ghana Pegasus opened this, I think this is executive suite yesterday, day before yesterday, I think it was. But we still want to recognize that as a worthwhile
and say congratulations to him and the team at Pegasus.
I definitely want to add my voice in saying congratulations
add your voice.
to Badal on this specific occasion. You know, he has done it as a businessman. He has been in the struggle for quite some time in business.
Yeah.
And I acknowledge the efforts there, and I am particularly proud of this investment and how it showcases our country. And it is good to see, and I must say this, it's good to see a Guyanese,
yes,
you know,
absolutely,
elevating to those heights. I'm happy that this is not something that a foreign person had to come and do. I'm happy that it is something done by a Guyanese. So congratulations.
Kudos.
Respect and manners. Following other things too. You know, former finance minister, he says this is nonsense. You are talking about this fastest growing economy. You know, the likes of sugar telling us a different story. And what he says is when you look at the non-oil economy, which is some of what we've been talking about here, you get a true sense of the governance of the economic landscape in this country. And we went through last night for our viewers the non-oil economy on the last year and what I think the first quarter indicating, and nothing are moving. Nothing is moving in this country. Everything is done. Bauxite, sugar, rice production. What else we have? Everything else is done. Everything else is done, and the
goal declarations done.
Yeah, the bracing. And that's perhaps one of the reasons we're going to discuss in a second. Why they come back to the National Assembly yesterday for more money. For more money. Even though they just take out all the money from the natural resource fund, 40 billion they took out a second portion, a second tranche.
Yeah.
They come into the National Assembly last evening for 40 billion more. How much is enough? How much is enough?
Well, how much is enough, and particularly when they're
To
not
bridge the
spending it
Yeah.
on the people of Guyana. When Joretta did her budget presentation this year, earlier in the year, she showed the numbers of just how poorly the non-oil sector is performing. Gold gone down. Everything, the production is at...
Agriculture,
manganese, you name it. Bauxite gone down.
Everything.
Bauxite went up by 18%. Gold somewhere between 13 and 14%. Everything waiting under these guys. Cameron Ramston, I think, puts it aptly by says they're like banyan trees. Nothing grow under them. Right? You know, Jaguar Haven growing. Shortage, really think about shortage, think about Ashley saying shortage, right? Sugar shortage, Ashley saying shortage, nothing growing under them. That's the kind of country.
And it's sad because the people of Guyana continue to suffer. But the people of Guyana, we the people, have to unite to demand more and to demand better.
It's the blatant lies that I can't take on. And I just read a comment here from Sonia saying fishing is done, can't catch fish. And it made me remember instantly the fact that the minister himself went out there and said there's no evidence to say that the operations of Exxon is having any effect on the fishing industry altogether. And Exxon themselves
just contradicted them by saying that they're doing a well campaign.
And this was before, when he said that, I came with him and said, it doesn't make sense. We had none other than the best ever EP had ever seen, Vincent Adams. He spoke to it and he said the temperature alone of the water that is being dumped back will do that. It will have effect, but you can't just go out and say that there's nothing to say. He said he spoke to the fact that there's no baseline evidence.
I want you to go beyond that, because the Agriculture Minister Zulfi, as cute Zulfi said that it was based on a report out of the FAO. Do you know to date they have not made that report public?
They have not. They have not.
Exxon, it's not Exxon causing the fish to flee.
But Exxon is saying, because and it has to go. We have to go back to what Vincent Adams was speaking about, the fact that there's no baseline evidence for us to start from.
So how do you compare?
How do you do that? How do you do this comparison? Because the EPA did not go out and do their environmental protection assessment altogether. It is ridiculous. And then you go to the fisher folk, and you say take a 250. Take the chuck that the hell's with y'all. How is that the way in which we manage a country altogether? It doesn't make sense.
Because that is how they
understand.
But Joretta, that's how they managed it for 23 years. But they were able to keep that cycle going through a combination of lies, fear, corruption. It was just a toxic brew. And they were able to impose it on the Guyanese people. But you know what they are not able to get away from? That Guyanese people were able to experience a break with the APNU AFC administration. And Guyanese people in their heart of hearts know that it was different. That it was better.
You just said corruption there made me remember how Zulfikar Mustafa, no bit of cuteness, came and upset me yesterday. And he upset me to a different level because he stood in the National Assembly and he made some pronouncements on things. And I just couldn't have it, you know.
Good portion of the correct. And
you know, they talk about flipping maths, right? Zulfikar came to National Assembly, and I pulled him up on it yesterday. Every single time they get up there, and this is 7,500 sugar worth. Where do they pull this number from? You just open their mouths and pull numbers into clear blues. There's no
but they had the opportunity and got the money, got all the billions to open up all the sugar estates and employ all 7,000 back.
Right.
Listen, and they're not speaking the facts again. The workers that not 7,500, the workers that were dismissed were paid full severance.
Were paid for and paid again.
And
you will recall.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is what happens when you see we keep throwing away money in a manner, or you keep dispensing funds in a manner that's not structured or without a plan.
Corruption. It's corruption.
Corruptionism.
He spoke to the fact about it, and he said, "Oh, we're doing so much. We have $25,000 given to each household in the river areas." And I had to address that too. You were in Bartica, and you were telling the people in Constituency 7 that, "Oh, you living in this street, you can't get. Well, we can go around to the other street and we can give." And then you come to the National Assembly,
that's the wickedness
you
of
are proud of that. As I said, and they're doing it because they are of the belief that they are getting away with it. And I told them in uncertain times, don't believe that. Don't believe that you're putting up a shield to all the questioning all the questions that are coming. All the people are complaining. How could you do that? A woman wrote on her Facebook. She said, "How is it my family that is living around the corner from me getting 25,000, but I am not getting it? What you can tell me the cost of living up the road if their experience is not the same that I'm experiencing right here." And you come to the National Assembly and you want to put that forward as a badge of honor for yourself, that we are doing that. And it's the same thing that's happening there that happened with the 25,000. Exactly like I called it out before. They're going to households of their supporters and they're saying, "Oh, your son got your wife and still living here, we give you a separate 25,000. But then they're going to households that they believe are not of their support base, and they're saying, "Oh, well, this entire house, so regardless of how many persons and families live here, we're just going to give you $125,000.
Absolutely.
That is the corruption that is going on. Right? It's absolutely abysmal.
So while Vincent Jordan has been talking about, don't worry, this biggest GDP ever and fastest growing economy. Right, Jack has been saying now that he can't ask the oil company for more money, even though they started talking about renegotiating. They can't talk about more money because it's going to lead to inflation. Well, economists will understand what they're doing. Like Jurita and others have been saying, more money can be beneficial if managed wisely. That means like a no-brainer. If you manage it wisely. If you give people like the PPP more money, they just take 40 billion from the natural resource fund, they come to Parliament for another 40 billion. But it will never be enough for them to bridge the divide with the incompetence and the mismanagement. Right? But if you give better people I know a couple of them who can manage this money better, you won't have to worry. Right? So economist Elson Lowe and even Mr. Raymond Gaskin
Rambo
had some choice rewards for them. And here is what he said quite recently in Kaito News. Rambo, as Amanda cutely calls him, says, "If you take all this money and start spending like your while, like a drunken sailor, it will be inflationary." And the reason why the vice president can say he doesn't want this inflation is because he doesn't have a proper plan in mind on what to do with this money. Raymond Gaskin?
I just said the same thing. I didn't realize that he had said that. Look, and let me say this. Like I said earlier, I at the end of the day, when I go home and I head to my bed, I lie down with ultimately a sense of feeling that I did my best to bring this matter to the attention of the people. That's all we can do as MPs. Continue to advocate. The role of members of parliament in the National Assembly is advocacy. We have to go, we have to advocate, we have to, as Kemrad said, expose, oppose where necessary, and ultimately depose the government. We, however, can't do it alone. The people of Guyana, more important than us, have a role to play in holding this government accountable.
Correct.
And my God, we are spending so much time focusing on minute matters when there's a larger context to be dealt with. When you see hungry people in this country start to rise up, Juretta quoted something.
It moves. And Article 30 was telling them about that, But these guys laughing, right? So if we're playing cute, and by extension, the entire government, Parag making light of the cost of living, Article 13 group, tell them, watch yourselves, y'all got all the ingredients here, nepotism, corruption, shady deals, backroom dealings. You got all of the recipe, all the ingredients. Inflation, high cost of living, all of it.
Meddling in the police force.
All of it you have to create Sri Lanka, to create Suriname. Right?
Panama.
But them boys laughing. Right? As you said, y'all just finished eating, y'all big duck curry. People out there don't even know how they're going to work tomorrow. Don't even know what they eating over the weekend, how they're making it through, but we are there busting big laugh.
And having a grand time.
You can see the speakers stand up in a line waiting for sugar.
For sugar.
You can see your fun. You can see Parag. No. You won't see that.
Sugar is brought and delivered to their homes on the taxpayer dollar. The same taxpayer that they refuse to give a cent of increase to. And then they have this excuse, this is happening all around the world.
What is your policy here? That's what I asked.
Precisely.
That is what I asked.
Precisely.
We are not saying that this is not something that is being felt on. What is the policy here? And I think persons need to understand it is not okay for ministers of government of the PP administration right now to get on platforms and go on at meetings and sit and look at you in your face and say, this is happening around the world. Because around the world, mind you, is not seeing what they are saying, that they're headlining all over. Fastest growing economy. Right? Around the world. That's not their reaction in the other countries. Right? So it's a way different scenario. It's an extremely different scenario.
Motley don't have a natural resource fund to go and get 40 billion from. And then come back to Parliament and ask for 40 billion.
In his infinite ignorance, I don't know what else to call it, right? Indar stood up yesterday and spoke about the cost of oil and so forth. I could not believe that when their budgetary projection when it comes to the oil cost per barrel, right now it is double that on the market, and he's not seeing how that is a benefit to an oil producing country. And he went there and he projected it as such a blatant oh my God, the cost of oil. We are not a producing country, for God's sake. How will you come and you explain it in that light?
Therefore, you would think that the benefits would redound. But in the same breath, Ashley Singh stands up and says, the economy is the fastest growing. There is no cohesion
you could put on a plate
in their arguments. There is no cohesiveness in their arguments at all because they do not have a plan.
They don't.
Mia Motley is facing IMF restructuring. You know what that means. And she has carved out the fiscal space to put VAT exemption on 4 to 5 items and light and water and so on and so forth, and to food items. But we got $40 billion we coming to ask for. If we're to take just 1 billion of that 40, to just put it towards the people of Guyana.
Hold on, as we're talking about deflecting in the National Assembly from the real problems of their abysmal performance, 100 million from that 40 going for legal fees. 100 million from that 40 they're asking for going to legal fees. Right? In a time when people can't buy sugar. Right? I wonder how much sugar 100 million could give you to just share out to depressed communities in this country.
Or bread. Because bread in some parts of this country is $800-900 for a loaf.
My God. Then by send me back on the road. Send me back to the streets with them kind of costs. 100 million from that 40 billion going to legal fees alone.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
among some other things, it is staggering what these folks are doing. Right? And it look like it's getting better anytime soon. 100 billion from that. I hope I got that right. Going just to legal fees, and they want some other stuff too. Yeah, 100 million going to legal fees. 21 billion going to housing. Right? Because of course, if you're not food in your house, you could start eating out the post and so on. Oh, but hold on, man.
Or the concrete board.
Hold on, man. 3.4 billion going to Gaisuko, in which IFLOT produced 66 tons of sugar after the forest scrap. 3.4 billion. Not so struggling UG students who can't meet the campus because, the thing, bro. You said some folks were owed money for the big program. Not to them. Going to Gaisuko, so says Narayan Singh can afford 30,000 US. You see why Article 13 says I got all of the ingredients? Because they are so disconnected.
Very. That is the word. They're very, very
from the people in this country.
Very, very disconnected.
They believe they're getting away with it.
3.4 going to Gaisuko. So Gaisuko alone in the last 2 years probably got how much? Probably $15-20 billion to do what? Produce 66 tons of sugar.
To do what?
Right?
To create a sugar shortage on the market. That's the reality.
That's what it's been. And Rose Hall roof, like a strainer leaking. 3.4 billion going to Gaisuko. 21 billion going to housing. Right? Because that is the greatest need of the hour, in spite of inflation and all of that. Housing Expo open. And here the man, here's story. I saw there's a cost.
Yes.
It's a small cost, but a cost nonetheless for citizens to go on to Housing Expo. But the cost, you could buy at least a pound of sugar. But you got to pay the government to go and see the housing plan. Oh, Father, you got to pay the government to go and see the housing plan. The plan that they have for you.
How is that?
You got to go and pay the government to go in the Housing Expo. In a time when they got lined up for sugar. You understand me?
They're basically saying,
bread gone up, but they want you to pay for coming and see the housing plan.
They're saying that poor people don't want to have a place there. That's what they're saying. Poor people, you don't have a place there.
Right?
We don't want to entertain you. We don't want to project any imaginary image in your head that we care about you. So just to make sure that you're not there, we're just going to attract a cost.
Tone deaf.
Can you
Right?
imagine?
And again, Amanzo, is because we allow it. Think about it. Them boys had a big ceremony to open a road that I'm finished.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With the jumpy board there, you go to the end of the road.
I passed there this morning.
The road unfinished, but you have a big opening.
The road at the end of that road is virtually impossible.
Yeah.
I drove there this morning and I was like, my God, cars really
and them boys opened the road and said,
comfortably.
It's open for business. Come through. That is so emblematic of who they are. Right? And you know what is worse? Manza says all the time, Judy says all the time, we allow it.
We allow it.
Then we had a big ribbon cutting. This road open. You can now access the East Bank in 7 minutes. Where? Which East Bank?
My people will have it so.
Oh.
That's somewhere in the Bible.
Oh,
that
boy.
my people will have it so.
You got to pay to go Housing Expo to see the government's plan for you. The citizens, we elect them, you got to pay for going. Just now they're going to ask you for sign autographs and so on. You got to get another thing too.
That's your DNA sample.
Right? And a stool sample. You got to pay to go Housing Expo. In this economy, inflation, nothing we, but the government telling you, it's a minimal fee nonetheless, but that is money to somebody.
Yes.
If I got to think, do I go Housing Expo? I can take
or
a pound
do I
of
have
sugar.
a pound of sugar? If I find it,
If
or
I
do
find
I
it.
buy a bag of tennis roll, which is $500
Yeah.
for 5 right now?
Yeah. Or do I go Housing Expo to see the plan? Right? That is the government. But they come asking you for 21 billion for housing development, but you got to pay for going to the expo. Them boys, tone them.
Special. They're special.
They're different. They're different. Very, very different. And, you know, this is what they do all the time. Yesterday in the National Assembly, as we've been discussing earlier, there was a motion being brought to discuss Sugate. Speaker says not important. You know important? 100 million in legal fees. Yes. 3.4 billion for Gaisuko. Right? That's important. That make the order paper. That's not important. You know, discussion, debate on Sugate. This is not urgent public business or something like that. That is not important.
But one of the things important,
you know, important suspending MPs.
That's how they prioritize,
the urgent,
right? But when it comes to this particular supplementary budget, I just want persons to understand that it was tabled yesterday, but this will come up for actual debate on the 8th. The 8th. Parliament goes into recess on the 10th. You would remember I told you very, very many times that before the recess, they always come back and they ask for money. That's the only thing they come and ask for. The only reason that we had a private members day yesterday is because they needed that sit-in to table this so that they can get
that's what it was about
before it goes
and then it goes into recess.
Period,
yes,
right.
Yes,
That's how they operate. These are the people. They already planned that they're not going to be having no sort of sit-ins for this year because they've been speaking so as though they're happy about this, you know. Oh, for the persons that are getting suspended, we see you back when in February, you know. So it gives you an idea of who these people are. They're saying from now to February of next year, they're going to have 4 sit-ins.
I will have you know.
Can you imagine?
This is the government. This is the government.
The folks promised us a robust legislative agenda. Right?
This is Photoshop.
Right? But, you know, I look at these matters very, very, very importantly because we have to give an account to taxpayers how we spend our time as legislators, right? And I would have you know, between last year, October, this session of Parliament, between last year, October, and where we are currently heading into another recess period, the National Assembly had 16 sittings. 16.
Can you imagine? 16
right?
sittings.
But hold on. 16 sittings. Under the APNU AFC administration, for the same period, their second year, they had 26 sittings.
And they want to talk to us about good
and
governance.
More bills were passed. More legislation made. 16 to 26.
Those are the facts.
And you tell me who interested in the people of this country.
They're big on maths and numbers, so that should be of importance to them because the numbers tell the story.
But hold on, man. Hold on. We are rivaling right now, sitting of the National Assembly, the lawmakers, legitimate, elected, that is being rivaled in terms of sitting by youth parliament.
Wow.
So the speaker of the National Assembly, nothing against our young people, you know, being trained like this, nothing against that. But the young people are almost meeting more in the youth parliament
than the actual
led by the Speaker of the National Assembly than the actual parliament of the National Assembly. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that later on in the day. Right? We love that our young people are getting the experience. But when the Speaker of the National Assembly is more interesting in the youth parliament meeting than the actual parliament meeting, we got some trouble. APNU AFC had 26 times over the
He has direct control over the youth parliament. The government of the day, the PPP, actually have to decide. The Prime Minister specifically have to send that directive for the sitting of
but I'm saying they promise, like the other promise is a robust legislative agenda.
But the Speaker,
but again, could be the Photoshop. It is a robust youth parliamentary agenda.
Probably.
Again, folks, because I know you're going to cut this, somebody in the dark room watching, I'm going to cut specific point. You have absolutely nothing against our young people, because I'm a product of youth parliament.
Yes, I have sat in youth parliament as well.
When I sat as youth parliamentarian, I just happened to get best overall parliamentarian. Y'all don't come along with me for my things. So I understand the process, and I commend that process to any young person in this country.
It was quite an experience.
But when that seems to be the more important thing, than people actually pay to be there, we're in trouble.
We are in trouble. We are in trouble.
Yeah, that's where we are.
We are in trouble.
Folks, I think that's it for us this morning. We got a little bit over time.
Wow.
A little bit over time. Good to have each and every one of you here.
Oh, look, Lakshmi is here.
Lakshmi,
Lakshmi girl, I need help.
Yeah,
because
Lakshmi come late, man.
yes,
Come late.
we were saying earlier in the program that
Spoke
we're
that.
getting Mr. Lee, the math teacher.
Yeah.
No,
So, yeah.
wanted to know when is your birthday. They want to give you a calculator. I said
December
your birthday today.
6th.
Not today. It's
December
today.
6th.
We can pull it forward. We can
December
receive
6th.
Yeah,
today.
yeah. You know, when that is all did you have, you know.
You know you're in bad
yeah.
shape. You know you're in bad shape.
Yeah,
You know
you're in
you're in
trouble.
bad
You're in
shape.
trouble.
So,
You know.
Mr. Chisel Chipper says the show done quick. Well, you know, time flies when you're having fun. And it's an hour already. And we just are happy to come and bring credible information.
Yeah.
Valid information.
Yeah.
And
also
focus
to
our
give them guys
people.
work and then they get paid.
Yeah.
The trolls like Lakshmi and so on.
Yeah.
Before we
Go
wrap up,
ahead.
I just wanted to sum up, you know, the essence of that particular debate that the man was speaking on, the clips that we were looking at earlier, and that specific debate, we were asking the public service be paid after at the end of their first month of work. And I want to make the point right now for persons to understand very clearly that the government went in there yesterday and they proposed an amendment to that motion. And the amendment that they proposed was to say that public servants should be paid within a reasonable time. No government should come at any point in time to what I would say kerfuffle people with nonsense, right? They actually made it worse by saying that now.
Reasonable
because
time.
when it comes to a subjective word as reasonable, now it has moved from persons getting paid from within 3 months.
So it could be longer.
It could be longer.
Yeah, because
Right?
and when
they actually made it worse by not specifying that time frame.
And then we asked them to say, well, okay, what does reasonable mean?
Correct.
And no minister could say to us what it meant. So what it means is that public servants will simply have to continue on top of the high food prices, on top of the high cost of living. If you should find a job, you had better prepare to be indebted for the first 3 months so that you can get to work to keep the job that will pay you. And I guarantee you, when you get paid that first 3 months, all of your money is going to repay debts. That's basically
that's what happens.
That's where we are as
that's
a
the
people.
actuality of it. But of course, I mean, the ministry sign on, they start processing the information. When you get them your ID card, your birth certificate, your blood sample, or whatever, you guarantee you get paid at the end of the month. You know, no reasons given, no questions asked. You'll be paid as a parliamentarian. The same thing happens. Why our public servants must suffer like this?
Yeah.
You know, we got to change these draconian things. It's not enough to say it has happened 20 years before, and that is why it should continue happening.
No, but that's what the point I made. I made a point that in that came yesterday, and he said this is the worst the economies are facing. He was seeing everybody's face. Oh, in 40 years, he said this is the worst we're facing. And I said that is good governance requires that you go in and you put measures in place to deal with what is happening.
Happening today? What is happening today? You hear they invoke Bornum name, they invoke everybody's name, and they keep missing the point that you are responsible for what you do today. But you know what? We want to end the show by saying that we know, because a lot of their supporters call us and say, MP, we just are too scared to speak out. But we have to encourage them. You have to stand up and speak out for your
just
rights.
like the folks at Blade Hall, you know, you got to speak out. When you see cameras coming, you can't run.
You can't run away.
Right? You can't run.
You have to be able to speak up and stand up for your rights. Don't call us to tell us, oh, you know this, but don't say my name and whatever. At some point, as a human being, you have to decide that you will live in dignity, and you must be afforded your dignity.
Correct.
And you will not be treated like cattle on an animal farm.
Yeah. That's our time, folks.
That's our time.
That's our time. Thanks for joining us. Remember, we can't do this without you. Smash that emoji button. Share the live. Partner with us as well. Right. Have a great weekend. It's Friday, right? We're gonna see you guys back on Monday.
It's Friday already.
Yeah.
I think we're still a little tired from
see you guys back
the long night in
but
the
we're gonna see you guys in the
university.
podcast at 12
Absolutely.
and in the ring at 8, and then the podcast over the weekend. But for FYI, that's our time for not only this show, but for this week until next week. Stay safe.
Stay safe, guys.